Tonight on The Wrap, we will look at new legislations that will allow childcare centres to turn away unvaccinated children. With our recent change in Prime Minister, we'll retouch on the debate around same-sex marriage, and we'll bring you the latest from surfers on what they think about a limited shark cull in the northern New South Wales area. Good evening and welcome to The Wrap. I'm Anne Cottier, this is Carly Madsen, Jasmine Buck, and for the first time in a long time, Remy Vacelis.
It's great to be back, Anne.
How was your break?
Yeah, really good. Just went to New Zealand with the wife and kids, had a great time.
Excellent. Well, first up, we'll cross to April with the news headlines.
Thanks, Anne. A fierce fire fuelled by a truckload of sugarcane mulch has burned for 3 hours in a trailer at Pimpama on the Gold Coast. Fire crews were called to the scene at Pimpama Jacobs Well Road late this afternoon and still continued to extinguish the fire. Passing motorists were shocked by the intensity of the blaze. We will keep you updated. Nobody likes a grizzly plane passenger, but this particular 2-year-old shouldn't be too hard to bear. Then again, Henry is no ordinary youngster. He sleeps in a crate instead of a crib and tips the scales at 280 kilograms. The SeaWorld polar bear is preparing to fly the coop to join a conservation and breeding program in Canada.
I've just met Henry and I'm going to be flying him from the Gold Coast to Sydney. It's obviously a very unique and privileged experience for us.
Henry will board a Royal Australian Air Force Hercules on Tuesday to fly from Gold Coast to Sydney. It's the first leg of his journey to the Canadian polar bear habitat, where he'll play a major role in the international polar bear conservation and breeding program. The long-awaited second stage of the Gold Coast Light Rail project will be completed in time for the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, an avid public transport user, is set to commit $95 million in federal cash on Sunday. In his first visit to Queensland since he toppled Tony Abbott as Australian Prime Minister, he announced the new upgrade will enable Games visitors and support staff to travel by rail from Brisbane to the main stadium. The 7.3-kilometre route will link Helensvale train station with the northern end of the project's first stage at Gold Coast University Hospital. Paul Fletcher, Federal Minister for Territories, Local Government and Major Projects, confirmed the PM's interest in capturing increases in land value linked to new projects.
It's very important to see that all 3 levels of government are coming together in relation to this vital infrastructure project. And it is tremendously important for the Commonwealth Games.
Queensland scientists warn that the El Niño effect combined with climate change will cause a harmful coral bleaching event at the Great Barrier Reef. Researchers from the University of Queensland and the National Ocean Atmospheric Administration issued the warning this morning. They do not know how damaging the eventual bleaching will be, but said a similar phenomenon in 1998 affected more than half the reef.
Temperatures gradually ramping upwards. We're seeing the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere ramping upwards. Everything is indicating global climate change.
The devastating event 17 years ago eliminated about 16% of the world's coral and between 5 and 10% of that on the Great Barrier Reef. Australia Zoo's newest and fluffiest residents are ready to make hearts melt just in time for school holidays. 7-week-old alpine dingo puppies Jira, Archie and Eve are little pups with big personalities and are already delighting zoo visitors with their playful antics. Each has been named after a renowned Indigenous Australian, singer Archie Roach, Gubby Gubby elder Eve Fessel and pater Albert Namatjira. You're now up to date. Back to you.
Thanks, April. Coming up next, Remy brings us the latest from the Byron Bay bypass upgrade and all you need to know on the new laws for childcare centres that could be stopping your kids from attending daycare if they aren't vaccinated. Stick around.
Welcome back. Now we head south to Byron Bay where quiet streets could be in for a major change. The Butler Street bypass has been a bone of contention for many years. Today, Remy took to the streets to find out what this new proposal means for our local laid-back town.
Byron Shire Councillor Alan Hunter has confirmed that the controversial Butler Street bypass in Byron Bay will begin construction in March 2016.
It'll speed the traffic up, I think, by distributing it more evenly around the town rather than putting it across one pressure point. It's dead set, the money's in the bank, we've got to spend it.
Butler Street residents are fearful that the bypass will result in the farmers market being held here on the Butler Street Reserve having to be moved somewhere else in town.
that culture, that social, interaction that we have there, the economy, the colour, everything that is, encapsulates so much of Byron that's in those markets gone.
The Butler Street residents have approached council with a different bypass plan that would see the old rail land be used instead of the current street.
It's about the town really realising that there is a fantastic opportunity that's in our rail corridor, and we can provide an alternative route for the town.
The bypass is set to start construction in March of 2016. The Butler Street residents have other ideas.
So, Remy, you've lived there most of your life. What's the bypass going to mean for locals?
I think the bypass for locals, especially those living around Butler Street, it's going to have a really, really bad effect on the town. Because the most important factor is that the Butler Street Reserve, which is a large block of land that currently gets used for the farmers markets, overflow parking and other community events, that'll have to be taken away because of the upgrades. So we won't be able to use that land anymore.
So you're not looking forward to it?
Definitely not. I think that the council needs to reassess their decision, and there are other alternative routes available, like we saw in the package. So look, I think it just needs to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, hopefully that happens.
Hopefully the council takes into account what locals are thinking about this new proposal.
Yeah, it'd be a really big shame to just not have Byron Bay be the way that it has been for so long.
Definitely.
You can let us know what you think by joining the conversation at the Wrap TV on Twitter. From the streets to the beach of New South Wales, surfers on the north coast have shown support for a limited shark cull after an increase in attacks in the area recently. Carly brings us the latest.
During the last 6 months, there have been 11 shark attacks just off the northern New South Wales coast, and surfers are calling for some form of prevention. The 50-kilometre stretch of coastline between Evans Head and Byron Bay has seen 2 people die and 3 people seriously injured. In February, surfer Tadashi Nakahara was mauled to death by a shark just off Ballina's famous Shelley Beach. Then, in August, bodyboarder Matt Lee and surfer Craig Ison were both mauled by sharks and still remain in hospital today. The recent attacks in the area have left the surfing community in absolute fear of sharks.
It just makes it very real when you see people like weekly getting attacked. And I think that any negative sentiment, like the people that do want to cull, it's just a fear reaction, I think, more than anything.
A helicopter patrolling the beaches has spotted 7 great white sharks regularly tracking along the coastline, ranging from 3 to 5 metres in length. Don Munro, the president of Lee Bar Board Riding Club, held a meeting earlier in the year where he said majority of surfers showed support for a limited shark cull out of desperation to stop shark attacks in the area.
It only came about after multiple incidences over a very short space of time this year. Yet I can state that, those people, I knew, a very big percentage of them, and that's not their train of thought under normal circumstances.
The New South Wales state government ruled out shark culls earlier in the year and said that they have no plans to change this. Niall Blair, the Minister for Primary Industries, released a statement announcing that the government had assigned $100,000 to support research and investigation into new technology to deter sharks.
Well, shark nets only cover 1% of the coast, so what are the new technologies that they're proposing that surfers use?
Well, I've actually heard of a device that surfers can attach to their surfboard, which can actually deter sharks while they're in the water. So it would be interesting to see if surfers would be willing to use that, because when I spoke to Mike, he believes that it's more of a spiritual experience, that he wouldn't be willing to use that device while he's in the water.
I just feel like it would make it a little bit harder to surf if you had a device stuck to the bottom of your surfboard.
Definitely. What about if you fall off the board and hit the device? Like, what are the safety requirements for this device?
How much does it weigh?
Exactly.
And also how costly it is, because as we know, surfers don't usually throw money at things that they don't have.
Well, a surfboard's like $500 as it is.
That
How
is
much
true.
more money do you want to spend on
So you
something?
think that surfers would be worth, you think they'd be ready to invest some money into something like this, or?
I don't think so. I don't think it's something that I would be willing to invest money into. I mean, you go into the ocean knowing that that's where sharks are going to be. Surfers are generally quite okay with that. They have been forever.
Probably depends on how much they surf too. I guess if they're surfing every single day, they could be very experienced and quite happy to surf without it, whereas if they're a beginner, they might feel like they need that extra protection.
Exactly, and at the end of the day, you're actually going into their habitat. Like, you face a risk on your own. That's your decision, so you can't really stop that affecting your surfing.
Definitely.
And next up on the show, what you parents have been waiting for. Will the new laws around vaccinations and daycare affect your child? All that and more when we get back.
Queensland's Health Minister is attempting to ban youngsters who aren't immunised from attending childcare centres. April filed this report earlier today.
From the playground to Parliament, new laws in Queensland will give childcare centres the power to refuse or cancel enrolment of children if they're not fully vaccinated. The legislation aims to protect children from preventable diseases such as whooping cough and measles. Queensland Health Minister Cameron Dix says it's a critical step to improving the state's immunisation rates. 92% of children in Queensland are vaccinated. The target is 95%.
Yes, if we can creep up further to, if we get to that almost magic 95%, which is then gives us that what is known as herd immunity, which is that if most people are immunised, and if you've got one that isn't immunised, then there's no one to pass it on to.
The government wants to empower childcare centres to talk to parents about their child's immunisation needs and encourage them to count childcare as an important development stage.
Children will miss out on the opportunity to be settled before they start primary school, to be social and to understand the basics.
It's an emotive subject which draws heated debate from parents.
I don't think the government should be able to choose whose kids can go to kindy. I think that should be on the parents, and if anything, the government should be promoting education.
The state government wants the new laws in place from the start of next year.
So what's your opinion on vaccinations, Anne?
Look, I don't have kids, but I think that it's really important that people vaccinate their kids for the safety of everyone. Like, it's not just kids that carry germs, adults do as well. Everyone has to be vaccinated for whooping cough. Now, adults and children, I just think there's a reason that we vaccinate, and it's because it's proven to work.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at school, I didn't even think of it as something I had a choice about. You return the forms, you get the vaccination, and that was it. There was no question.
Yeah, well, it's the same that it is now. People need to be vaccinating, and that is just my opinion, and I know there are hundreds of people out there that don't agree with me, but until there's solid proof that vaccination doesn't work versus the actual solid proof we have that vaccination does work, why wouldn't we be vaccinating our kids and giving them the best chance?
Exactly, and really the benefits outweigh the risk. Like, why wouldn't you want to vaccinise your children if it's going to stop them from getting things that you don't really want them to get?
Yeah, I've heard that there's some proposals for vaccination-free childcare centres, Em?
There's a woman, Juanita Halden, in northern New South Wales that wants to open her own daycare for children that aren't vaccinated. So, I mean, I don't know what sort of children are going to go there and what parents are going to send them, but if she's in the right area for that market, as far as I know, with Byron Bay and vaccinating, so...
Yeah, look, I grew up around that area, and I can tell you that my school had the lowest vaccination rate in all of Australia. There are a lot of people who don't believe in vaccination, and quite frankly, I think that if you're not vaccinated, then you shouldn't be at high school amongst people who are vaccinated and protected.
Yeah, I think that they're there for a reason, but it's so extreme to make a parent vaccinise their child if they don't want to.
Yeah, I think it's just because you can say, I don't want to vaccinate my child, but for every other child, like, as long as there's one kid that's not vaccinated, that whole childcare is open to as many germs as that kid brings in. So it's not about one kid not being vaccinated. It's about one kid bringing in polio to 25 kids that are vaccinated.
Exactly.
You know? Well, that takes us to our next topic. They're stopping you from sending kids to school if they're not vaccinated, and they're stopping us from marrying the people that we want to marry. The current legislation in Australia states that marriage is between a man and a woman. However, as more and more countries legalise same-sex marriage, homosexual Australian couples are asking our government, when will it be our turn? Tony Abbott was staunch on saying that he was against the idea of same-sex marriage and that he felt personally threatened by the idea of homosexuals. So what happens now that Abbott's out of office and Malcolm Turnbull's in? He says that he supports same-sex marriage, but the Liberal Party stands staunch on their policy. We took to the streets to get some public opinion.
I feel like people should be able to marry who they want to marry. If it makes you happy, then why not?
I think everybody has the right to be married, regardless of their sexuality or their preferences.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I when I was younger, I probably had a different opinion, but it's changed over time.
There'll be a conflict of interest between religion and non-Christians and Christians.
Yeah.
So we do respect because their gender and also if it's a female or whatever. But they shouldn't doing that from the out of the consent. They have to respect others also.
I think that just love is love, and if somebody loves another person, then they deserve the same rights and opportunities to get married.
Look, honestly, in 2015, I don't know why this is even still an issue that is being discussed.
I think I have the answer for you, Anne. As much as we don't want to admit, the church, especially Christianity, plays a major part still in the lives of so many Australians. And I believe it's the church's influence as to why people are not behind the idea of same-sex marriage.
Well, I sat down and spoke to a Gold Coast business owner, and he, you know, it was an interesting discussion because he said the same thing. He said, as a Christian, you know, that's the reason that I don't believe that a man and a woman shouldn't be together and that a man and a man should. That's the way I grew up. That's what I've been taught. So it's one of those things where people might just need to break away from what they've always known.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Be a little bit more accepting. Just because it's what you've always known doesn't mean that it is the way it always will be.
It's definitely an interesting way to view the situation there.
Exactly. What I don't understand is I think that how can they... It's not going to affect them if someone else gets married. I mean, people get married all the time, and majority of the time you don't know about it. So
Exactly.
it's not really going to have much of an impact on them unless they know someone that close to them that's going to go get married.
Quite often I think it goes into the how will this affect the kids, and I think that's just the saddest point that you could make. Like, you're straight away teaching your kids ignorance towards a topic.
But really, everyone should be freedom to love. Shouldn't that be what we're teaching our kids? Like, love
Yeah, absolutely.
everyone for
Acceptance.
no matter what they are.
Definitely. I think it's going to be an issue that's definitely still going to be making headlines until a result happens.
Exactly.
Coming up after the break, Jasmine got high with the Gold Coast Kite Festival, and April brings us the weather.
Welcome back. So Jasmine, you were down at the Kite Festival earlier today. What was it like?
It was actually really good. It was really eye-opening, like not something that you usually see every day. So it was just nice to see other people flying kites and getting involved in something like that.
Yeah, let's take a look.
I'm down here at the Gold Coast Kite Festival with people from all over the world who are showing off their kites. Today and tomorrow, people from Canada, Asia, New Zealand and of course Australia are coming here to get involved with the event and fill the skies with their kites. International kite flyer Willow Robin from Canada gave us an insight to the kite flying industry and why she loves it.
There's something for everybody. It gets you out on the beach, out in the park, hanging out with your family and friends instead of sitting at home and playing video games.
Not many people would think that an event like this would attract so many people, but over 100 kites will be flown over this weekend. And they aren't exactly small either. There will be a 30-metre octopus, a 30-metre whale, a 20-metre dolphin, and so much more to see. Kite building is a skill that takes a lot of dedication, with one kite alone taking around 1 month to build. The Spectre line on some of these kites is even capable of holding up to 2,500 kgs. We have Rolf Zimmerman here to give us an insight into kite flying and reveal his top tip on building a kite.
The Dragon, for example, I need 150 hours just to make it.
Wow, that's a very long time. And so you must love it to put that much time into making it?
Yeah, I love it very much because it's always get enjoyed by the people, by the public.
This festival is free of charge and is held at Surfers Paradise, Broadbeach and Kirra both today and tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So come down, bring your family and friends, get involved and have your turn at flying a kite. Or if you don't happen to have one, tune in tomorrow where we will have Ray Bethel, the world's best multiple kite flyer, in the studio to teach you how to make your very own kite.
Time for the weather. If you're looking for something fun to do tonight, head down to Broadbeach for Opera in the Park. April is down there now with Broadbeach Alliance CEO Jen McCormack. Hi April.
Hi Carly, it's been a bit drizzly today, but luckily the weather's held out for us tonight. I'm here at Opera in the Park in Broadbeach with Jen McCormack. How are you going, Jen?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
So you're happy the weather's made it out for tonight?
Yes, it's always a challenge, the weather when you do outdoor events, but tonight is going to be beautiful. And it's nearly a full moon.
Wonderful. So what have we got on show tonight for everyone?
Tonight we've got some phenomenal performers. They will be performing an array of musical theatre, popular numbers plus some opera numbers. And the performers are Judith, Lucy and Martin, and they are outstanding. Plus we've of course got the Gold Coast Youth Orchestra, which is wonderful. So they're in a range in age from 15 to 22. Yeah. And we also have the Gold Coast Choral Group, and they range in age from 8 to 17. So we're really looking to look after the youth of the city.
Definitely. So I think we've got a big show on tonight. I'll be hanging around. What's gone into making this event happen?
Months and months of work goes into it. The producer and the musical director have been working on the program for probably 4 months. Rehearsals have been underway for 3 months, so it all comes together tonight. This is today, or yesterday and today, are the only time everyone's got together to perform, so it should be special.
So I think the weather's going to hold out. It should be a great night tonight. I'll be sticking around. Well, it's a chilly 18 degrees at Broadbeach at the moment. Today there were showers hanging around on and off with cool winds as well. Today in Coolangatta, 22 degrees and 24 degrees up at Coomera. Good diving conditions for the weekend. Visibility is up to 15 metres and we can expect east to southeasterly winds up to 25 knots. High tide at the Seaway will be around 6:15 in the morning. The sun will be up at 5:30 a.m. So unfortunately these grey skies and clouds will be sticking around for the rest of the weekend, though they should clear by the end of the week. Luckily everyone brought their blanket tonight. Looks like we're in for a chilly evening. Back to you.
Thanks, April. You're going to have to sing pretty hard to stay warm down there tonight, but that's all we have time for.
But tune in tomorrow night where we will have Ray Bethel teaching us how to make a kite. We bring you the latest on the new tram upgrades and how it will affect your way around the coast.
If you want to keep up to date with the show, head to our website at theraptv.com or on Twitter at theraptv.
Thanks very much for tuning in tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night. That's a wrap.
See you later.
Goodbye.